Saturday, and then certainly looking forward to this week. You know, first and foremost, as I said after the game, good to get the win, certainly, and Troy competed hard. We expected that when they came in, and really did a good job in certain areas, made some big plays, and credit to their execution on that. Thought our guys handled the adversity pretty well. It wasn't great at halftime, certainly, and came out and did a better job in the second half. Certainly good to get some points, finish them drives. Yet, that being said, we left two of them on the table out there with a 4th and 1, lack of a conversion on a 4th and 1, and that was really more communication than anything else. And then, missed on a makeable 3rd down that led to our field goal. So certainly some plays there that need to get cleaned up or things that need to get cleaned up. And then the big plays, both fundamentals, but communication as well. So a couple things involved in that. And the one thing I do know is, giving up big plays makes it tough to play winning football. So it's something we've got to get corrected here. We've been victimized by that now 2 weeks in a row. And again, it's really not a matter of effort. It's just a little better job with communication, a better job with good fundamental play out there. And, we're certainly going to have to improve as we start to move into conference play now. So, that being said, head to Minnesota Saturday, first league game and first road game. So, big on a couple fronts. And then most importantly, we're playing a really good football team, a very veteran football team. And a confident football team. They play extremely hard and playing really well right now. Our captains will be the same 4 guys. We've got Jay Higgins and Quinn Schulte defensively. And then on the other side, you've got Luke Lachey and Cade McNamara offensively. So we've got those 4 guys leading us again. Injury-wise, LeSean left the game on Saturday, and I don't see him having a chance to return. So hopefully we'll get him soon here in the future, but I don't think this week's reasonable for him to be in there. It's a rivalry game, trophy game, says enough right there, but most importantly, I think if you look at the series, last 3 games have been decided by 10 combined points. So I think, it just kind of tells you the nature of the series and what it's all about, and my guess is this game will probably fall in line with that. Again, as I said, they've got a really good football team. They're very veteran, play extremely hard, well coached, and I think they're playing with a lot of confidence now, and rightfully so. A tough loss in the first game, come back, and they've looked really good the last 2 weeks out there. So they've got good experience basically across the board right now. And I would include the quarterback. He's a new player, but he is an older guy and his experience. He's playing really well for them. He's fit right in with, I think, what they were looking for. And be remiss if I didn't mention their kicker and punter. They've got 2 outstanding specialists. The kicker was the kicker in the year in the Big Ten last year, and the punter's a very veteran guy, very talented, very strong punter. So they're really good in that area. And again, back-to-back shout-outs, tough to beat that. So and the last thing, just real quickly, the kid captain this week we're going to be on the road, but Aiden Washburn will be with us. He's a 8-year-old from Keokuk. Had a rare heart condition, had a couple of surgeries. Basically his first week on Earth here, and had another one at 6 months and another one at 3.5. And so he tells his friends he's got a special heart. So he's fought some issues there and is on the transplant list. But right now, very healthy and happy. 3rd grader. I've been told likes science, likes reading, and likes swimming as well. So he'll be in our thoughts as we travel up to Minneapolis, and I'll throw it out for questions.
Kirk, Tom. Integrated Brendan into that goal line package. Would you ever think about maybe 3rd short, those 4th down plays, maybe integrate them into that as well?
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, right now we haven't given it a lot of thought, but we'll see. And just happy to get him in there involved. He's practiced well and done some good things, and certainly gives us a little different dimension. So those are things we might consider as we move forward. Yep.
John Sept, Cedar Rapids is at quite the first 3 games for Jacob Gill, leading the team in receptions. How have you seen him kind of adjust from not being here in the spring to kind of getting up to speed so quickly and adding kind of different dimension to his offense?
Yeah, it's a real credit to him because, to your point, I think the most significant point he got here in June, late newcomer, wanted to finish up school. He had his previous stop, and I think it's a real credit to him. A little bit like Nick Jackson. Rusty Feth a year ago came in after spring ball. But those guys really got up to speed fast, and I think the biggest thing is he's really, everything about him's really impressive. He's just a very mature, serious, focused guy. And as I've said before, that's a room that was lacking of experience and lacking production. So I think, as much as anything, we wanted to get a guy who's been around a little bit and is going through this, and he's just really operates at a really high level, and most importantly, practices really well, and that's how he plays as well.
Chad Meister, Code One Register. Have you ever, this is my first part of the question, have you ever gotten like any answer why you guys always start on the road in the Big Ten?
Start what, on the road? Yeah.
18 out of 26
No.
now. 18 out of 26.
How many? 18 out of,
26 years.
wow,
Including 3 in a row.
it's a good percentage, right? Yeah.
It's almost impossible statistically. But anyway, but you guys have been a good road team. You won 6 year last set on the road. What does it take to be a good road team? You obviously have to be this year if you want to accomplish your goals.
Yeah, I think you do just in general. Like, if you want to be a really good football team, at our level, you're going to play at least 5 away games. Typically it's 7 and 5, so that's just part of the deal. And I guess are we still flip-flopping on? Like, there was one year where we flip-flopped too, so I can't keep track of it. But the first thing, you can't worry too much about it where you're playing. I think you worry about the game. And then to the point about being on the road, sometimes it's almost good in a way because it really forces you to be even more focused if that's possible, and not just assume, hey, we got the comforts of home and the crowd's going to be behind us and all that. We know it's going to be exactly the opposite of that, and it's a great thing about playing in our conference. Everywhere where you go, there are really good venues to play in, historic, and a lot of tradition. So, but it really gets down, I think, to being able to focus on what is important. Realize it's not a field trip. We're going up there to do something, and it's only 72 of us, so it's a little smaller number, and that's what you got on the sideline, and it's basically us against whoever's there in the stadium. Most importantly, opponent. Yep.
Scott Hawkeyes, Kirk, you've said quite a few, in the last few years, a lot about you can't microwave the offensive line. It seems to be developing to that level that you want, at least the way it appears. There was a block, I think it was on Caleb's second touchdown, where Nick Young was able to go from right tackle to execute a reach on a middle linebacker, which is almost impossible. But how is that? How has the line grown now? Has it kind of reached that point that you want it to reach, and is that why it's executing at a high level, or are you doing?
I'm only smiling because we just practiced here about an hour and a half ago. So I walk off the field like, oh yeah, man, we can't block anybody. Yeah, it is a process, and we are gaining ground. We're not there yet, and we'll never get there, hopefully. But I think we're getting better, and the things you're referencing, that takes some experience. It takes a lot of work on the field and in the meeting rooms too. Guys have a real opportunity to really learn and move and improve in the meeting rooms. But the most important work is what they do on the field. And I'm thinking about some plays that didn't look so good today. Frustration and failure is part of getting better too, though. You got to go through some things, and sometimes you try to match what you're doing against maybe what they're doing. It doesn't always look pretty, but if we can get there by Saturday, it'd be a good thing. But I think the guys are more confident right now. They're certainly more physically mature than they've been, and we're healthier, and that helps too. So all those things help, and George does a great job with those guys. But it's a process, and if we're doing it right, we'll get better week to week, and hopefully by midseason or so, we're really starting to have some proficiency.
Hawkeye headquarters, Coach. After the game last year, you had mentioned that no official had gone up to you before the game and said, "Hey, you can't do this. This is an invalid fair catch." I was curious that since that play happened last year, has that come up in a pregame talk with the officials? And I guess is it clear to you now what an illegal fair catch is?
Yeah, I think we're all on the same page on that, and I really don't want to go down that road again too much, but probably the biggest, and I go back to Michigan, I think it was 06. We were up there, and there was like a 6-minute review, 7-minute review. And that's where the issue starts to come into play. And then, when you're told we're reviewing one thing, and then we get a different interpretation about something else. But those lacks of communication, or that lack of communication, I think is a little disturbing afterwards. And I do think we addressed that in the out of season as a conference. I think we're in a better place right now. And, bottom line, there's still, I think that play was open for interpretation, but it was more about the process afterwards. It was really kind of troubling. So, it is kind of what it is. But I think we have, in the out of season, cleaned that up a little bit.
Hey, Kirk, Elliot,
Yep.
Hawkeye Weekend. I know through the first few weeks,
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. And I don't mean that in a negative way by any stretch, but it's, we've played 3 weeks right now, and you can't stand here, and I can't stand here in front of you and say we've played a complete game start to finish yet. I wasn't here for the first one, but, I watched it. And, so we've had peaks and valleys. And as I said, the good thing is, we faced some adversity the other day, and it could have gotten worse after that muff punt, too, just for the record. I mean, Nestor did a good job being there and scooping that thing up, but that could have been interesting. We're at 17-14 at that point, and the ball's at midfield. So, those things are going to be good for us in the long run. I just assume not have to go through all of them that we've done. And, I think to the point, whether it be Cade or the offensive line, hopefully our best football is in front of us. That's the way it's got to work, and does typically work for us. I know more about our program than I do others, but that's usually how it works. But we got to be working at it and doing right. And I do think he's more comfortable now. And now the challenge is, can we keep it going week to week, knowing that, the degree of difficulty is going to get a little tougher too, because these guys, 2 straight shutouts in a row, so it's going to be a big challenge for us.
KG again. Last weekend we talked about Jay a little bit, but today Jay Higgins told us that the game at Minnesota in 2020 was the first game in which he got defensive snaps as a Hawkeye. So he's kind of reflecting on just his career, a little bit of full circle moments now this season. Can you just reflect a little bit on what he's meant to this team over the last few years, especially?
Yeah, first comment is a rare regular season game played in December. Not to mention at night in Minnesota. What a great schedule. Speaking of scheduling, that was really well thought out. But yeah, Jay has just been great. I can't say enough about him. And said this back in the summertime. In this modern era of cut and run. Not that everybody does that, but it seems to be pretty popular. Yeah, he ends up sitting behind a guy named Jack Campbell, who's pretty good, and Jay recognized that. And instead of running from Jack, he went and ran to him and listened and really watched him. Most importantly, I think he watched how Jack operated. Not that Jay didn't already know how to operate, but good players tend to gravitate towards good players. And Jay was all eyes and ears, and he's learned from the best of the guys in our program. And now he's become one of the best of our guys ever. He's always had a great personality. Does love football, which is as silly as that sounds, it's a real starting point to being a great player, in my opinion. Lives for it. Last night, I think I saw him going downstairs about 8:30 at night. I'm sitting at my desk, and if my door is open, I can watch guys come up and down the steps. He's going home at 8:30. So he's back in there watching tape. Good things don't happen by accident. And I'm not trying to compare him to Ray Lewis, but Ray was a rookie all of our first years in Baltimore. And Ray, you could hear Ray just about anytime, anywhere. But the one thing about him, boy, I tell you, nobody worked harder than him. Same deal, like early in the morning, there late at night, that type of stuff. And you wonder why great players are great players. There's a dedication. There's just the way they study it and the way they approach it. And they've got some humility. And Jay's got all those things, so he's really done a great job. And, we're thrilled he's on our team. Yep.
My other question is a bit more magistrate. You mentioned with the explosive passing plays, you guys have given up the technique and communication.
Yep.
Can you just maybe expand on where the breakdowns in those 2 sectors you kind of seem to allow that?
Yeah, I mean, the other day it looked like one guy was victimized twice. The one was just a mental error, and that to me, I attribute that to being a younger guy and forgetting, first things first, and also forgetting that, the guy across from you is trying to win too, and as a defensive back, you've always got to keep the ball in front of you. It's just paramount, and so you can always recognize that they may throw it deep. I mean, it's just if you're out there and it's the way it is. And then the second one was just there's some fuzziness with the communication, and pretty much everything we do offensively, defensively, and special teams involves everybody. Everybody's got to be on the same page, and there's certain leverages or techniques that have to be used, and it may involve more than one guy. And quite frankly, quite typically it does. So that was the second one. And then on the punt return, I mean, it just it looked like junior high coverage. Quite frankly, we had about 17 guys over on this side of those 2 hashes, and everybody had the wrong leverage basically. And I've never seen a game where a guy scored 3 touchdowns. That's rare. And then I don't think he had a finger on him in any of the 3 places, 3 TDs. So I mean, that's hard to do, really hard to do. So hopefully we get that out of our system.
Kirk Ferentz, WHOTV. Offensively, over 400 yards so far per game, over 30 points. Have you noticed maybe a confidence and an understanding
I think a lot of things are better Saturday than they've been. But each step's been a learning process. First game, it was, choppy water, and then things came around. Second game, they throw a lot at you, a lot of really unusual looks. So, it was hit or miss. But when we did hit, it was pretty. And, I think last week, we had more good, maybe than bad, that type of thing. But each week's going to be a different challenge. The good news is already been discussed. I think we're a little better up front now than we've been the last couple of years. So maybe we can handle some things, not only ability to block, but also the ability to maybe be in the right spot to block the right guy with the right leverage. And then, quarterback play, if we can get, consistency there too, those two things really help dictate how an offense goes. And I mentioned we missed a third down that was makeable. Part of that was just, lack of a little bit of two guys on the same page, and probably more because a young guy wasn't quite sure what to do. And there's no question that'll get better as we just keep going and learning there. So those little things make a big difference in games. Maybe not as much last Saturday, but you get in a one-score game. Those things are really big, and that's where that precision's got to come in, and that's where experience and everybody just getting it done is important. But it's easier said than done because every week you're playing a different team with different challenges.
David Eichel, Hawkeyes.com. Kirk, how important is next play mentality, next game moving forward? How important is it to your culture? Because it seems like your team's always on the same page when it comes to that. Does that start with the type of guys you recruit? Is it about molding them when they get on campus? Or how have you kind of established that culture? And how do you kind of reach your team be able to really embrace it?
Yeah, I think probably the best answer to that, like part of it's learned, a lot of it's learned. A lot of what we do is learned, and it's just that's the nature of any. I think you go to a program that's different than what you came from. You've got to learn. Jacob Gill's had to learn. Like what we do technique-wise and all those kinds of things. So. Yeah, part of that, and it's just, it is kind of what it is, like, in college football, and it's going to be different next year or whenever when we get to 105. That next man's going to be a little closer to being in than over there. Like, you're right here now, because there ain't a lot of next men anymore. It's not like they're, incubating. So, but the reality of, and it's a phenomenon in football too. Like I've always thought guys on the second team can get relaxed if they're not careful. Because they're really not, down there doing dirty work with the scout team, yet they're not, having the pressure of having to be ready to play 70 quality snaps. So if you're not careful, you can be lax there. And I think, the guys that have stepped in, it's a real credit to them for preparing the right way, even though they may not, really play a lot of significant reps. But yeah, those things are all taught. We just talk about them, but some guys listen better than others, and they're the ones that probably improve quicker and end up being on the field faster. But yeah, I mean, really, it's what it gets down to. You just never know when you're going to get called. That's one facet. And then as far as moving on to the next game, you have to, because it's all there is. Like, and it's whatever happened last week really doesn't matter at this point. And I had to go back and look up who picked up the muff punt because I'd already moved on from that one. So I'll give Nestor a shout out on that one. Guy hustles and works hard. So yeah, but you're on to the next one.
Hey, Kirk, Pat Hardy with Hot Fanatic and KCJJ Radio. This particular trophy game is almost 90 years old.
Yeah.
Much do you emphasize the history of this? And don't you have a player that gives a presentation during the week of this week?
Yeah, thanks for the reminder. Yeah, it's for tomorrow. And I'd forgotten about that. So, I mean, my notes, I haven't looked that far ahead yet. But, yeah, we typically do. Just because, like 1981, I had no idea. Although I was telling somebody yesterday when I got here in 81, like Johnny Carson was on TV. And he was funny. Like, he was really funny in a good way, I mean, I thought it was pretty funny. So, anyway, I remember on his show, whatever, there was a feature about Iowa and Minnesota, and I didn't even know how I was at that point, so it was like pre-1981. But what I do remember is there was a real rivalry, and when I got here in 81, there was. But I was kind of naive to it until they came across the field after the 12-10 win out there, 1981. Yeah, and I thought, boy, they're pretty enthusiastic about shaking hands, and then I dumbbell, they wanted to come get the trophy, which was right behind us. So that was my introduction to the trophy game, and once you're here for a little bit, you figure it out real quickly and what it means. I think in this particular one, there's a real deep history. certainly, so yeah, we'll do that. Give the guys a chance, and, we haven't seen the pig in a while, so, we'll have pictures and all that and see if we can do something about it, but just that never seems to come easy. I remember going up there in '82 after we got beaten 81, 12-10. That was one of the most physical games I can ever remember being involved with. Maybe it was just me, but that's how it felt. It was a really hard-fought game, and both teams really went at it, and we were able to come out victorious. So, but I remember that being it was back in the old dome. Tough ball game.
Scott Outman from The Athletic.
Well, I'm telling old stories, huh? That's 40 years ago. Jeez. God. Oh, man. Like, that's ancient history. I'm sorry. Yeah, not just history. Yeah. Means I'm ancient, right? Yeah. Okay. No, I'm not. No, I don't have any bib overall. Sorry. Yeah. Or a straw or hat. That was funny. That was funny.
Wanted to ask you, last year against Western Michigan, you gave them 2 long passes, 2 explosive plays. One was 50 plus, one was 40 plus. And then the rest of the year, there might have been 1, maybe 2 more, and really very limited. And then you look at what happened the other day, 2 long explosive passes, one against Iowa State. Are you, in one respect, are you happy that these are correctable mistakes? These are just communication errors. These are things that can be taken care of. Or on the other hand, are you like, it's not like Plaxico Burris is out there and you're just getting dominated?
Yeah, well, I mean, we'll see. That's the bottom line on all this stuff is we'll see. To your point, they are correctable. So the key thing is, are we going to correct them? And the good news is we've played good defense with all of the same guys on the field. But then, we can't have those lapses. And usually, whether it's communication, just like the 4th and 1, I think it was 2 guys didn't get the same call the other 9 did. And you got to play it's dead in the water. So, you just don't get those back. It's like losing a game. You don't get it back. So that's where the hard thing for a player is. Like, there's a lot going on out there. There's a lot of communication. But you've got to be able to be on the same page. And then if you're not sure, you got to give ground, or somebody's got to contain a punt or whatever. At least get it turned back in, so we might have a fighting chance. But just to let a guy come down the sideline, boy, is that hard. So hopefully we're learning as we go. Our good teams do learn. And to your point there, and that's the good news. I mean, we've had success with the same guys. So now the challenge is let's tighten things up a little bit and make sure we're really. If we're going to get beat on something, let's get beat, because it is Plaxico Burris or the other team makes a great play, but let's not help them out.
Hey, Coach, Matt McGowan from Team Adam. Talk about why Black Ops season sticks out. What do you remember about recruiting, and what does he bring to this team?
Remember him coming to camp, it's pretty easy to spot him, which makes me flash back to a thought. Tristan Wirfs committed, coming back from another Big Ten school. Nobody knew him. It's like, how can this guy walk in your room and somebody to walk over and say hello to you? And he said no, so doesn't come to Iowa. I'm glad he did. But why? It was just, he's a really good football player. We thought a great prospect, and he's kind of quiet. I don't know how he is with you guys, but he was kind of quiet, reserved, and almost held back a little bit. And quite frankly, for 3 years, I wasn't sure if he liked it here. But he's really come around on that front. And he's emerged as one of our, not only a good player, but he's emerged as one of our team leaders, and that's been fun to watch that, where he's really, involved with the other guys and really encouraging with them. And if he's got to say something, he'll say it. So it's really been good, fun to watch that part of the evolution as well.
Circling back to the defense and giving up explosive plays, Jay said the message from the coaching staff was the problems are from the neck up.
Yeah.
What's the process of fixing those kinds of issues, and is that alarming with a veteran team like you guys have?
Yeah, it kind of ties in with the other question. I'll share an analogy with you. We have 9 penalties right now as a team, and I don't want to talk too much about it and jinx us, but technically 10. We took a delay out there on the near the end of the half a week ago, or 2 weeks ago. So to that point, we had 9. What was it? 5 or 6? I think 6 in the first half of the first game. So the last 5 halves we've had 3. So apparently we got that straight a little bit, and it's sometimes it's just a matter of, hey, we got to concentrate better, and we've got to be a little bit more tuned in to what's going on. Penalties are usually a lack of ability or a lack of, just being lazy and sloppy, quite frankly. So lack of ability stuff you can't do anything about, but if it's being sloppy, that's not a good thing. And then same thing on the big play stuff. You know, if a guy gets beat, guy makes a great play, you know, what are you going to do? You know, you try to defend it the best you can, and if you get beat, you get beat. Congratulations to the other team. But if it's something you can stop or at least make it tougher on them, then that's what we got to be doing. And those are the things that we have to really try to coach. And most importantly, that's what the players have to do, is make sure that, you know, they're making the other team have to work a little bit, not just, like I said, that punt return is just so easy to cherry pick because, yeah, that guy could have had a cup of coffee and stopped at our bench, had a cup of coffee and then kept going. Nobody's even close, and that's just bad football.
Time for two more, Chad, then Blake.
Chad likes to go to one register. I want to ask about cornerback. Point of clarification. Kamari came out, looked like he had a bell ring the other day. Is he okay?
Yeah, I think he's going to be fine. You know, expect him to be out there. Yep.
Okay. And then, yeah, it's weird getting grilled about the defense now, right?
Oh, yeah. Well,
As opposed to the
it's okay. Yeah, I mean, you know, as long as we get better, it's okay.
What is the pecking order at cornerback? You've got TJ Hall still atop the depth chart.
Yep.
Nestor came in, fall camp. Seems like starter.
Yep.
Where is he at? I mean, where, 2, 3, 4, where do you see him?
They're all four are really pretty close. I would say Jamari's the guy that, you know, has the most experience and obviously made a really nice play the other day, and he's getting better and better, I think. But I think all four guys are really close, and I feel confident we can win with all four. We don't know as much about John in game competition yet, and I think that's just something he's got to work through. But, yeah, we feel like it's all four guys are pretty close, and probably see all four of them during the course of the season, would be my prediction. Yep. Yeah, Mike.
Coach, I'm just curious, as a competitor, obviously won a lot of games, lost a lot of games. Are there certain losses, you know, that years down the road that end up, you know, sticking with you, and with the game last year, can it be one of them?
Yeah, I mean, you know, it's all said and done. Probably reflect on that a little bit, but, you know, I really do, you know, I mean, you just got to try to move on. And some are harder than others, there's no question. And losses, you know, I guess it's a sickness coaches have, or at least I have, tend to, you know, they tend to linger more than the wins. Like wins, you move on. But when you lose, it's hard. You know, all losses are hard, and some are harder than others. But yeah, I don't want to categorize them right now. Whenever it's all over, we'll go back and play that game maybe. You know, 1 through 50 or whatever it would be. I don't know. So we'll see.
Okay, thanks, Coach.
Okay, thank you guys.